I just want to discuss a term that you hear a lot and that a lot of people possibly don't fully understand or fully grasp the concept of when it comes to training dogs. And the term that I want to discuss is reinforcement. Now you'll notice that I'm not saying positive reinforcement. And normally the two things go together, right? So you hear, oh, I'm a positive reinforcement trainer, or they're purely positive, refers to positive reinforcement. But I want to look at reinforcement briefly as it is as a whole, and how it can affect you and your dog and the way that you train your dog and the way that your dog responds. Now, reinforcement basically means to strengthen, to reinforce, right? To make something better, to make something more resilient to outside influence. And reinforcement generally is thought of as being something that is achieved through the addition, through adding something that the dog requires, desires, or is missing. And that addition is your positive. So that positive reinforcement is where we add something, we give something, we present something, the dog earns something, achieves something that the dog considers to be valuable, worthwhile, and that sort of like generates an increase in whatever it was that caused us to add that specific thing, to reinforce the behavior that caused the addition of the thing, right? I know this sounds, you've got to bear with me, I know this sounds simplistic and childlike and like I'm teaching primary school children and things like that. I'm not, but I know I'm not. I'm teaching really, really competent, loving, compassionate, well-meaning people. But scientific terminology for a lot of people gets lost. People don't quite, they can't grab that and put it into everyday language and understand it. But that's all it means. So I'm trying to make this as basic as possible. That is all it means. Positive reinforcement is your addition symbol of something to reinforce, to strengthen whatever it is that caused you to add that thing. Okay, that's how most people see it. So I tell my dog to sit, my dog sits, I give my dog something. I tell my dog to come back, I blow a whistle, I recall them, they turn around, yay, they come back, I give them something, I add something. I positively reinforce the behavior that just occurred, right? So I make it more likely to happen in the future. That's all good and brilliant. But we have to understand that there are some dogs for whom what I have to give, what I have to offer, what I have to add is insufficient. It doesn't compete with what the big wide world has to add, has to offer, has to give, right? So now I'm playing second fiddle to something that is offering more than I'm able to present. And that is where positive reinforcement hits a brick wall. And it does hit a brick wall. Everything hits a brick wall. Nothing in isolation is absolute. So you have to be prepared to accept the fact that for some dogs, I might get to the point that I want to be at. I might achieve everything that I want. For other dogs, I might get so far and then all of a sudden, man, I've hit that wall. How do I get beyond it? Now let's go back to the concept of reinforcement, to strengthen, to make stronger. So we have positive. We also have negative. So I've got my mathematical minus sign as well. I take something away to make something stronger. And the thing that we take away when we talk about negative reinforcement is something that the dog would rather rid itself of. It would rather weren't present. It might consider it distasteful, unpleasant, uncomfortable, whatever. It might consider it something that from the dog's perspective, not mine, from the dog's perspective, is something that it sees as being detrimental to its state of affairs. It wants to get rid of it. Now, if I do something that gets rid of something that I don't particularly like or don't particularly want or need, then I'm going to continue to do that. If in the future I think, I'm in this situation again, I know that negative thing, do you know what I mean, is liable to happen. But I know that if I do this, I avoid that negative thing. I remove the likelihood of it happening, therefore I'll do this. I'm not necessarily frightened or worried or hurt or anything else. I'm just acting differently. I'm acting to stop something from happening, to avoid something from happening, rather to cause something to happen, to gain the thing that happens. Do you see what I mean? Now, both of these things are reinforcing in terms of behavior. Both of these things strengthen that behavior. They make it more likely, they make it more resilient, they make it stronger. Do you see what I mean? So I keep saying, do you see what I mean? I've just noticed that. I must be being reinforced on some level. Look, the top and bottom of it is, whether it's an addition, whether it's positive reinforcement, whether it's a removal of the negative thing, whether it's negative reinforcement, that really doesn't matter to me as the person that's performing the behaviour, so long as my sort of like path through life, if you like, my state of affairs is either maintained or enhanced. That's all that matters. It's got nothing to do with the external person, the sort of like puppet master, if you will, that is controlling those things and their preferences. That's neither here nor there. Whether I would rather think, I would like to give you food for doing this, or I would like to cuddle you and kiss you, or I'd like to play a game of tug with you for doing this, or throw a ball with you for doing this behaviour. If the dog is saying to me, I don't want a cuddle, I don't want to chase a ball, I don't want to play tug, I don't want any food, I'm not particularly hungry, then I have to be able to look outside of my preference, my choice, and say, well, what can I do that might make you more likely to do it? What is it that you might find uncomfortable, unpleasant? What might you want to avoid? What might you want to remove? Without it being so invasive that we slip into the realms of sort of like causing the dog to, whoa, crikey, this is too much. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking about things like head harnesses. You know, a dog moves forward, a pressure is applied on a head harness, the dog moves back, it goes away. It moves forward, it comes on, it moves back, it goes away. So we think, I'll hold this position here, and it doesn't come on. My dog is avoiding that pressure. It's negative reinforcement. It's removing, it's taking away the sensation or the possibility of the sensation that I find unpleasant. Equally, my dog might be walking alongside of me and they look up at me and I say, yes, and I give them some food. And they walk along, they look up, yes, I give them some food. So they think, I wonder, I look up, yay, good boy, good girl, give them some food. Positive reinforcement, I'm adding the food, I'm strengthening the behaviour. But the primary thing that I want to put across here is that it doesn't matter which thing I choose when I basically am presented with a dog, when I go into a situation, because you have to be fluid and you have to look at the situation, the context, the requirements, the animal, the individuality of the whole nature of the thing, and say, what is the best form of reinforcement for this animal in this context to achieve this aim? Do you see what I mean? And you've got to, there it goes again. And it's got to be, oh, I lost myself. It's got to be, we have to be open. We have to be capable of understanding and accepting that if we want to achieve the outcomes that we desire and that are in the best interests of the animal in terms of the promotion, the preservation and the enhancement. So promotion again really, but the enhancement of their welfare. You know, and their compliance, their legal compliance, their control, our responsibility to keep those animals safe, controlled and free in a human-dense society where laws dictate that we require certain things of our dogs.